Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to show you the many uses of one of these rotary tools. They're very handy when you're doing any kind of repair work where the surfaces have to be perfectly smooth or polishing metal. And my advice is, if you're going to get one of these rotary devices, shop around. See what's out there. Just don't buy the most expensive one or the cheapest one. This is a mid-priced one. I've been real happy with it. And here's another tip. I didn't know as much as I did now. I'd buy these little ends for buffing and polishing and stuff at the hardware store out of the Dremel kits. But hey, these things are anywhere from $3 to $5 a piece. Well, that was then and this is now. Look at this. I got a whole bag of them. Amazon to the rescue. There are scores of them in here, and that whole bag was like $8. Don't buy them one at a time in a hardware store. Buy them by the bag. These things do wear out because they're polishing and they have pieces come off as they're polishing. So get bags of the stuff like I do on the cheap. Now look how corroded the metal's gotten on the left side of my Triumph. I gotta say that they're making things cheaper than they used to. But check this out. When I was young, and much cheaper than I am now, believe it or not, I used to do this by hand. I get a rag, I get polish, start polishing, and when you had big corrosion like this, it could take hours and hours. And yes, with corrosion like this, hey, these things wear out pretty fast. That's why you buy bags of the stuff. You don't have to worry about paying $3 a piece like I used to. Now this is only 5 minutes of polishing. You can see it's already looking better. You spend 20, 30 minutes, you can get it to look perfect. And when it comes to rusty pieces, like the shifter rod here, it gets rid of the rust, and since that shifter rod was painted silver anyways, get some of these micro applicators. They're like little paintbrushes. See, they have tiny little ends. Then we'll get a little silver paint and paint over it so the rust won't come back. Now you can't spray paint in there because, hey, you get a messy paint all over the place. So just take the top off your spray can, spray a little in there, and you got some in here. These tiny little applicators are fantastic for getting in little crevices. Now here's a really rusty part. This was chrome plated. It's an oil feed tube. And you can see it's really horrible, but in order to replace it, you have to take the whole engine apart. So I am going to clean it with this rotary device really clean. Then I'm going to use some steel wool, first some rough stuff and then some finer stuff to make it nice and smooth. And really give vigorous rubbing. Then use the really fine steel wool to make it nice and smooth. Then prep it with some denatured alcohol. It'll take any foreign substances off so you can paint it. Wipe it all over. Get everything off so it's perfectly clean. You don't want all this crud messing with your paint. Then you let it air dry. Now in this case, I'm using POR 15 high temperature black paint because that's on the engine. It's going to get relatively hot and this stuff can take the heat. I would rather have another chrome piece put in, but then I would have to take the whole engine apart. And odds are, if I buy another one of these Triumph parts, the chrome plating is going to come off anyway. So I'm just as happy it's inside the engine. I'm going to paint it black. And again, I'm going to use these little micro applicators because you can get it on nice and you won't touch other parts and get paint on other things. These little things are fantastic for doing detail work. Then we'll just apply the paint. Now this is high temperature paint, and that was bare metal we cleaned it down to. So you can see it's starting to look quite a bit better. But I'm going to end up painting it 2 or 3 times over the next couple of days. And once it's dry to the touch, since it's high temperature paint, we got to run the engine a little to give it a little heat, and that's what cures it. So we'll start her up. And let it idle for 5 or 10 minutes. Then shut it off. And then tomorrow I'll probably put another coat on and do that for a couple of days so that it's nice and thick and it'll keep the rust from coming back. They're not just for polishing. Hey, you can get these cool little wire brushes that go on the end of them and really do the same thing as I did with the polishing attachment. Don't go to the store and buy these things for $3, $4, $5 a piece. I got bags of these things and they're like, you know, 10, 11 bucks when I looked around Amazon. And you get a whole bunch of these fine brushes which you can use in all kinds of auto repair. For example, anything that has a mating surface that needs to be sealed. This is all dirty, well, hey. Then when it's all shiny, you put a gasket on, bolt it on, the thing won't leak. Since these devices fit in smaller holes, they're great for stuff like water pump. You take the water pump off the engine, and the engine's generally recessed in there. And it's very hard to try to scrape all the old gasket off because there's no working room and the scrapers are kind of long and they won't fit in there. These can fit in really small spaces, and if this end doesn't work, hey, there's lots of other ends that are even smaller with brushes on them. They can get in really small nooks and crannies. The last thing you want is to bolt a water pump on your engine after doing all that work. Then when you put it all together, it leaks because the gasket area where it seals isn't perfectly smooth. This stuff smooths it out, and it does it really fast. And you can get little grinding wheels for them to grind off burrs in little areas. You can even get little paint strippers to strip paint off of tiny areas if you need to do that. These little rotary tools, man, they are exceptionally handy. Of course, you can use them all around the house too, but for working on your car, it's really a must-have tool if you're doing any kind of gasket work or any kind of polishing work, or if you've got pieces that don't fit just exactly, you can mill off little bits at a time so that they fit in. Hey, these things are fantastic. Heck, I'm so crazy, I was even thinking about putting a soft attachment on and polish my own teeth to save money at the dentist, but you know, my wife talked me out of that one. So now you know how handy one of these little rotary tools can be. Hey, you might think about getting one yourself. Just like I say, price around, see what's out there, see what you want to spend. You don't have to spend too much, but don't go really cheap, because years ago, I tried the cheapest ones that are like, you know, $19.95. They just burn out, they weren't worth it. Spend a little bit more, and you'll get a much better tool that's gonna last you for a really long time. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.